Now, did you know that what you might consider a fault with yourself could actually turn out to be your personal strength? Learning to apply these strengths positively into our lives is critical for learning how to love ourselves. To chat to us more about this topic is Angela Hardy, personal transformational specialist and kinesiologist. Welcome back onto the couch, Angela. This is a really interesting discussion. Now, you talk about your strengths and weaknesses being two sides of the same coin. Tell us about that.
Best thing I ever learned about myself. You know, when we're trying to find a way to feel okay in ourselves, most of us spend a lot of time looking at our faults. We look at ourselves, we say, I'm not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. And we spend a lot of energy and effort trying to get rid of those things out of our personality. But it turns out that this not okayness that I have is often the equal and opposite side to my very, very best attribute. So let's say, for instance, we were talking about me. Let's say, oh, Ange, you talk too much, right? I've been told that many times. So people say to me, oh, you talk too much. This could be considered a fault for me, right? If I'm being criticized over it, that's a problem. I need to not talk so much. But on the other side of the coin is that I love knowledge and I love to share knowledge. And I'm very excited by learning. I'm very excited by knowledge. And so this talking so much is my way of bringing that across, and I'm pretty good at it.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's this two sides of the same coin. If I hate the fact that I talk too much, I think I'm a horrible person, nobody can possibly love me because I talk so much. Every time I talk too much, I'm like, ugh, getting a bit down on myself. There's self-judgment, there's worry that I'm not coming across okay. But to know that actually one of my greatest strengths is my skill at talking.
Yes, yeah.
So these two, I can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
They are interconnected. Now, I could learn to shave off some of the really scratchy edges of the sad side, the bad side. But the truth of the matter is I can't have that without the good side, and I can't have the good side without the bad side. And for me, when I discovered that, I thought to myself, wow, this is useful, because I spent a lot of time trying to not be that horrible person that I was always seeing. That's the thing I need to get rid of. I'm bad, I'm sad, I'm not okay. And then I realized, actually, I'm fabulous. And bad and sad are not okay. And they all go together. And I can accept, if I'm not willing to give up fabulous, if I could see fabulous and recognize, wow, there's a strength here that's associated with this other thing, then I can have a very balanced view of myself. And in that balanced view, I can find that sense that I'm okay.
That's really interesting. And I think something that maybe is something I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into. This is quite different from just putting a positive spin on something. How do you embrace that process of drilling deeper?
Well, it's actually remarkably easy. When you work with somebody else, they can see it clearly. Do you know what I mean? But when you work with it by yourself, you're so focused in on that negative. And so the way I like to do it with my clients is I have them make a page with a column down the middle, a line down the middle, two columns. On the one side, I say, write down all the things about yourself that you would love to get rid of, that these personality defects that you hate.
Yes.
And then once they've done that, because it's so easy for us to see the negatives, so they're like, absolutely, here's my list, no problem, 5 minutes. And then I say, now let's look at each thing on that list, the ones in particular that you hate the most, and tell me what is the equal and opposite real value that you add to the world that you can't have without that. And then they sit and they brew on that for a little while. And it's amazing. Like, people used to say to me, for instance, you're tactless, you're tactless, you're tactless. You would think that if I wrote tactless on my list, there would be no equal and opposite value to be had. But when I did this exercise for myself, I was like, yeah, no, it's true, I'm very tactless. And then I realized, oh, I'm the one person that you will ask for the truth from. I'm the one person that will tell you like it is. And because I can speak the truth, and I can speak my truth and your truth, I am the one person that will stand up for you, that is able to stand up and say that's not okay in a situation where everybody else is sitting back and saying, please just don't look at me. You know? So when I realized, wow, that is also who I am, I was like, oh, I'm actually not just a tactless, crazy woman. I'm actually a good person too. And this tactlessness allows me, you know, this strength sometimes comes out in tactless, which I could definitely shave some scratchy bits off, right? But this strength is amazing. And I've seen that strength come out in me thousands of times throughout my whole life, even when I was a child. I was the one person who could stand up for what was right. So now that I see that, I'm like, okay, I can tolerate a bit of tactless every now and again. especially if I can be a little bit more gentle and loving about it, as I find more gentleness and love within myself, that's easy to do.
Okay. You go as far as talking about finding your inner genius. How do we embrace that? How do we work with that? And where do we take it?
Well, this is another thing that people just don't see in themselves. And I blame school. I got a lot to say about schooling, but let's not go there.
Yeah.
We spend our time having to be right. Do not ever fail. We spend our time being very critical and judgmental of ourselves. And through this process, particularly at schooling, we get told, pay attention to what you're not doing well, right? And so when we grow up and we leave school, we pay attention to what we're not doing well, we pay attention to what we're not doing well, and we keep on doing that. And all the time, the message comes back to me that says, it doesn't matter how hard I work, it doesn't matter how much attention I pay to this thing, I'm always mediocre. I can give it hours and hours of my time, but I never really become amazing at it. Now, if you think about the things that you do well that are so easy, so natural to you, you barely have to lift a finger and you're already good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the things that are your personal genius. So if I were to take my attention and pay attention to the things that come really easily to me, instead of saying, oh, well, that doesn't count, which is what everybody does, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so amazing at numbers, but you know what, that doesn't count. Well, for that person it counts. Big deal.
Absolutely, yeah.
But for you, you're saying it doesn't count. You know what I mean? Because why? Because it doesn't feel like I don't have to lose my soul for it. You know what I mean? I have to rip my hair out for it. It's just too easy.
Yeah,
it's just too easy. So let's say you paid attention to what was really easy. How good would you become at it then? The things that are easy for us, they're our genius. They're the natural expression of what we're good at, what our brain does well, what our physicality does well. They're the natural expression of who we really are. And if you focus your attention and your effort and your energy in making those really good, you'll be amazing.
How do you take that first step to recognize that you're doing just perfectly well as you are? Obviously, I think we all strive for some sort of improvement in life, but to accept that you are enough, you are good enough, you're doing enough, you are there for a reason and you're fulfilling that reason. What's the first step? Because that's always the hardest one.
We think that the world is judging us, okay? We're pretty convinced that the world is judging us. But that conviction comes from the little mini-me voice inside of our mind that absolutely is convinced that it's psychic. Because it looks at you and says, oh, Michael's judging me. Michael doesn't like my dress, he doesn't like my clothes, he thinks I talk too much, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But you never said anything to me about that.
Absolutely.
How do I know? I don't know.
It's an assumption. It's all assumption.
I'm making it up. And what am I making it up based on? The thing I'm most terrified is the assumption.
Okay.
So if I'm afraid because in my past people have said you talk too much, that somebody's going to criticize me for talking too much, my little inner voice is more than ahead of you because it's like, you talk too much. You know what I mean? So the biggest problem that we have is not that the world is judging us, that we're not okay. Mostly the world really doesn't care.
They've got their own problems.
They've got their own problems, right? Our biggest problem is that we are making an assumption that they're judging us. And that little mini-me voice that tells us this finds the thing that is most painful. And it says, do you know that I know what they're talking about you right now? That I know that what they're thinking about. And because that is so uncomfortable for us, we get an emotional reaction to it. And we've got thought, emotion, and because it feels so true and real in us in this moment, we say it must be true.
Yeah, yeah.
It must be true. Instead of turning to mini-me and saying, darling,
darling,
are you aware that you're not psychic? You know, which is what I have to say to my mini-me all the time. Okay, you're really not psychic. Speak to the hand. So I would say that this is the first and biggest problem. We are so afraid of judgment, so we prejudge ourselves.
Absolutely.
We make up who we think we are, and we take the negative and we go and slap forehand, backhand with that negative day in and day out.
Now, how do we take this personal genius and embrace the personal genius, and what is the positive benefit to our self-esteem? Just in brief, because we are running out of time.
Right. So first thing is you know what your personal genius is because it's easy. All right. Second thing, to embrace the personal genius, find work, find art, find craft, find the things that you do that come easily to you, that excite you, that motivate you, that give you energy, that if I said to you, let's do it, you'd say, let's do it right now.
Okay.
So that's the thing that you need to do. And then direct your life in that direction. Do you know what I mean? Why are you spending so much time directing your life at the things that are hard and uncomfortable and
struggle?
Yeah. Who told you had to do that? School. I blame school.
That's an interesting one. I think we definitely have a framework built, or we build or grow into a framework, I think, which is not always absolutely as it should be. So Angela, lots to think about there. Thank you so much. Always great. You can talk a lot. It's great. It's wonderful. Great information coming out, as you say. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.